1 million member Association of Mature American Citizens, AMAC, a conservative alternative to AARP, served in the Reagan and Bush 41 White Houses and served as Assistant Secretary of State under George W. Bush. Served as counsel to the U.S. House National Security Subcommittee for 5 years. Young Democrats, he says, are taking a knee on Super Tuesday, while senior voters become the real force in 2020. Robert, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you very much, Steve.
A lot on people's minds, a lot on seniors' minds today, that's for sure, as we look at the markets in chaos and turmoil. Some say it's potentially going to be more painful than 2008. I don't know what to make of all that. What do you make of all that?
Well, I think you have to remember, and I thank you for the introduction as a spokesperson for AMAC, and you're absolutely right that this is an organization that represents conservative values, but most of those over the age of 50, and there are 2 million AMAC members. We've lived through a lot, and 2008 is just one of the things we've lived through, and then there's 2001, and then you can go back as far as you want. The bottom line on this is that I think there are 25% of all voters are over the age of 65, and 35% of all voters are over the age of 50. And I think when you've lived enough, you look at something like this and think that it's unnecessary for people to be as spun up as they are. The fundamental element here is fear. Psychology drives a lot of things, and one of the things I think we're witnessing here, whether it's the oil prices this morning or the stock market, is that people are prone to overreact. We're almost programmed to overreact. And when the media, and Democrats in particular, encourage overreaction, it stirs fears. I recall I was active duty after 9/11, and I never could cease to be amazed at how many times people overreacted to small things because the memory of what had just happened was so fresh. And I think what we have here is really, in my opinion, the coronavirus is being handled in a very mature, a very organized way. In fact, the president has set up a structure which is very military in its approach. I mean, you have the vice president basically as your CO. You've got the assistant, the secretary of HHS operating essentially as an XO, and you have below that people from CDC, NIH, and others feeding information directly in. You know, this is people forget, but when John Kennedy was president, the tuberculosis cases were more than 50,000 a year. Now, tuberculosis kills people in a regular fashion. Most people will recover very easily from the coronavirus, and that's exactly what's happening. So it spreads fast, just the way a cold does. But you know, I think there's a tendency to overreact, and I think we should just pull back a bit. In my own experience, crisis management is always about managing the combination of people going about what they can go about as normal behavior and then preparing for whatever or reacting to whatever has occurred.
I think you've said that quite well, in fact. Robert Charles here, spokesman for AMAC, the Association for Mature American Citizens. And I guess maybe part of your words of wisdom of remain calm are good for your members because obviously financial trouble in the market, it can be more painful for those that are older. Obviously, these illnesses focus on people. I mean, have people that are older have more challenges with it. So, words of wisdom for your crowd, I suppose.
Well, I think so we can talk politics and we can talk what I consider to be common sense, and I appreciate just what you said because you're exactly right. I mean, common sense is obviously at play. We don't walk out in front of cars just because we know that that we might be able to do that and get away with it. You don't go out and put yourself in a position of risk, whether you're older, younger, or whether you